So there is some research that seems to indicate Beethoven may have had an arrhythmia, which is very interesting to think about. But of course, this is just pure speculation. I don't think anyone really knows for sure. But if you are a trumpeter who has had some sort of heart issue and you needed to have a pacemaker and or defibrillator implanted, then I have some info for you. If not, look away. So I've been playing with a pacemaker and defibrillator for almost 5 years. Mine is an ICD implantable cardioverter defibrillator. I have biventricular pacing, which means I have 3 leads for cardiac resynchronization purposes. When I had to have this thing implanted, I tried to find some info from real people, real trumpeters who have ICDs, and I could find absolutely no info whatsoever. So I realized I was going to be on my own for this, and I'm going to have to pave my own way. So the first thing that was an interesting decision to have to make was when they asked me when I wanted the low battery signal sound to come on. So you people who have ICDs know that they can program your ICD so that it gives off a low battery signal several months before the battery completely dies, so that you have some leeway, a buffer zone in there so that you can get it repaired before it becomes an urgent situation. So this poses an interesting problem for musicians, which I don't think they encounter very often. Musicians are on stage all the time, and you can't have that low battery signal going off when you're in the middle of a piece of music in public, in a public performance. So I had to think about what would be the least problematic time for that thing to go off. Obviously, don't want it going off in the evening when I'm on stage. I don't want it going off in the middle of the night, which would disrupt sleep. And there are times when I've got a morning gig. Church, we play in churches all the time, and those services tend to be in the morning. So I came up with the most convenient time would probably be somewhere around 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I might be in a rehearsal, but odds of me being in a service were far less. And obviously, I want that signal to go off so that I know when to get that thing replaced. So, your life is more important than whether you get embarrassed on stage or not. So keep that in mind. But my advice to you is try to find a time that's going to work best for you. That being said, I'm not sure, and I forgot to ask, what happens if you change time zones. So I was in Europe a couple years ago, and I have no idea if that thing had gone, what time zone that would have needed to go off on, like if it would have been in my new time zone, or I think it probably would just stay with Pacific time zone. But if you know the answer to me, let me know. If you know the answer, let me know. Now, the second issue that came up with me was about 9 months or so after I'd been playing trumpet again, after getting the okay from my cardiologist. I was doing about 10 performances with Nutcracker. It was December, and I started noticing I was getting this pulsation on the left side of my body. And what was actually happening was that one of the leads was triggering a phrenic nerve stimulation, which can happen. It's one of the known things that can occur. So I went back to my doctor's office and explained the issue. And it happened every time I was playing above about a D or an E. And it got worse the higher I played, the louder I played. The more power you're using, the worse it got. So it was really kind of a problem. You don't want to have that thing pulsating when you're about ready to play La Chocolat, because it's already tough enough as it is, and that's the last thing you need, is for some strange phrenic nerve to be going off in your body while you're trying to play some delicate high playing. So they adjusted it, and I went home, same thing, all over again. I called them up, explained the situation, and they said this time, which was smart, bring my trumpet in to the office and play so that they can adjust it and I can test it right then and there. So my advice to you, if you have this issue, bring your trumpet to the office, bring a nice quiet mute so that you're not disturbing people, because I'm sure they weren't terribly thrilled by hearing a trumpet. So I had a nice, soft mute and was able to test it right there. They tweaked it a bunch of times, and I was finally able to play without the phrenic nerve stimulation occurring. Now, one of the drawbacks to having that adjusted was that it made my device less efficient, so the battery is going to die sooner than it normally would. That's a fair trade-off for me, because it means I can play without that irritation, and the battery life probably got reduced by 30%, which kind of is significant, but then again, it's the best compromise we could come up with. The battery, they last for a good long time, so it reduced me from about 9 years to probably 6 to 7 years or something like that. So that was okay. I don't mind that. So those are a couple things to think about if you have to have an ICD. Definitely, it was absolutely worth it. It turned the quality of my life right around. I was very worried about becoming Borg, but those worries were kind of needless. And if I had to do it all over again, I absolutely would. So if you have experience with that, let me know. I'd be very curious to know what your real life experiences are.